Thank you, Catherine. Our next candidate is Mr. Chad Prosser. He is a former Horry County Council Chairman and more recently the Director of the South Carolina Department of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. Let's have a warm welcome for Chad Prosser.
Thank you, Joe. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. It's great to see the crowd today. You know, it's more than a little ironic that this weekend is the 100th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic. And when I think of that tragic historic event, it makes me think of where we are in this country today. This country is the Titanic, and that iceberg that is on the horizon, that is the national debt. And while this ship is on course to hit that iceberg, people are playing music on the deck and GSA employees are partying in Las Vegas. That is wrong. That is what we have to change, and that's why I'm running for Congress. We need to cut spending in order to eliminate the deficit and to pay down the national debt. I have two children who are 9 and 12. It's unconscionable that we are passing down this legacy of debt to our children. That has to change, and that's my primary motivation for running for Congress. We also need to limit the role of government in our lives and in the free market. There's no better example of that intervention than what's being currently debated with Obamacare. We have to repeal that job-killing act. It's going to cost $2 trillion now, twice as much as the president originally told us. And what do we get for that? We have 17 million people being added to the Medicaid rolls, 3 million people losing their private insurance, and 22 million people being forced into government-run insurance exchanges. And beyond that, we have the federal government telling private religious institutions what they can and can't do and hiring thousands of revenue agents in order to enforce the rules from bad legislation. Repealing Obamacare is a top priority. Thirdly, if we're going to make any progress on paying down the national debt and taking care of things like repealing Obamacare, we have got to change the culture of corruption in Washington. I'm a believer in the true citizen legislator model where you take people who have some other experience outside of government, you go into government, you make some changes, you make conservative reform, you don't overstay your welcome, and then you come home and you live under the same rules that Congress passes for everybody else. Congress shouldn't be exempt from insider trading. They shouldn't be using earmarks to line their own pockets. That is what we have to change. I did that when I was Director of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism under Mark Sanford. When I came in, we had more deputy directors at PRT than we had park rangers in our smaller parks. So when I reorganized, rather than starting at the bottom, I started at the top and eliminated 2 entire layers of senior management and all of the assigned state SUVs, including my own as director, as a place to start. The problem in Congress is that they're not willing to do the small things that make common sense, and they're not willing to do the big, bold things that must be done in order to get a hold of this problem with the debt and the deficit in our country. For me, I will be 45 this year, and I look at my children, I look at my 2 grandparents who are still living. This, for my generation, is our world war. We have to make the sacrifices. We have to go to Washington. We have to change and address the national debt. We cannot pass that legacy of debt on to our children. I have that experience as a reformer in government. That's what I hope to bring to Washington. I've done it in the private sector. I've done it in the public sector. And if we're going to return this country to a position of strength and prosperity, that has to be done now. I will be ready on day one to fight not only the president, we're hoping we'll have a Republican president, but in the case that we didn't, but also the Republican establishment who've gone up there and have not done what they needed to do to rein in the deficit spending. This is the year to do it. That iceberg is very close, and we have to stop this ship and turn it around this year, this election. I hope to have your help and your vote on June 12th in order to do that. Thank you.